Be silent. Not because you have nothing to say, but because what you don't say is about to change everything. There are moments when speaking costs you more than silence ever will. Moments when explaining yourself delays the victory Allah has already written for you. If you've been misunderstood, if lies were spoken about you, if you felt the urge to defend yourself, but something inside you said, wait, that wasn't set weakness. That was Allah holding your tongue. Because some battles are not won by arguments. They are won when you step back and let Allah step forward. Most people lose because they talk too much, but the ones Allah elevates, they go quiet and watch Him move. Tonight you will understand why silence attracts divine protection, why Allah fights hardest for those who restrain themselves, and why your breakthrough may arrive the moment you stop speaking. Stay with me. This message is not for everyone. It is for the ones Allah told to be silent because He is handling it. One, silence is a test of trust in Allah. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not fear. Silence is not losing. Silence is one of the hardest tests Allah gives because it exposes what you truly trust. When someone misunderstands you, when lies spread about you, when you are blamed for something you didn't do, your nafs screams for defense. It demands explanation. It begs to be heard. It wants justice immediately, loudly, and publicly. But Allah pauses the situation and watches one thing very closely. Do you trust me enough to stay quiet? Because the moment you feel the urge to explain yourself, it reveals something deep inside the heart. It reveals whether you believe that your words protect you or whether you believe Allah does. Most people speak because silence feels like surrender, but in reality silence is submission, and submission has power. Allah never asks His servants to be silent for no reason. He asks for silence when words would lower you and patience would elevate you. Think about this. If Allah is Al-Alim, the all-knowing, then who exactly are you trying to convince? If Allah already knows your intentions, your struggles, and your truth, why rush to explain yourself to people who don't stet? Silence becomes a declaration that says, "Oh Allah, you see what they don't stet. Oh Allah, you know what they don't stet. Oh Allah, I leave my defense with you." And Allah loves this level of trust. This is why some people speak endlessly yet never find peace. And others say nothing, yet Allah clears their name without effort. Silence teaches the soul patience. Patience attracts divine intervention. Allah delays justice not because He ignores you, but because He is arranging something greater than your explanation could ever achieve. When you stay silent, you remove yourself from the chaos. You step out of ego. You step into Tawakkul. And here is the part most people don't understand. The moment you stop defending yourself, Allah begins defending you in ways you could never imagine. Conversations happen behind closed doors. Hearts shift without warning. Truth surfaces without your involvement. All because you passed the test. Silence is painful because it feels like doing nothing. But spiritually, silence is doing everything right. If you are in a season where Allah is asking you to stay quiet, it is not because you are losing. It is because Allah is seeing whether you trust Him enough to let Him win the battle for you. And those who pass this test never walk away empty-handed. 2. Allah removes you from noise before He raises you. Before Allah elevates someone, He often makes them quiet. Not just quiet in speech, but quiet in life. Suddenly, fewer people are around you. Conversations feel shallow. Arguments no longer interest you. The noise that once surrounded your life begins to fade. At first, this silence feels uncomfortable. You may wonder why you feel disconnected. You may feel unseen, forgotten, or left behind. But this is not abandonment. This is preparation. Allah does not raise people from noisy places. Noise feeds ego. Noise feeds distraction. Noise keeps the soul scattered. Elevation requires focus. And focus requires silence. When Allah wants to build you internally, He reduces external influence. He removes you from crowds, so their opinions cannot shape you. He distances you from constant voices, so His guidance can become clearer. This is why many people are loud before they are ready and silent before they are chosen. Look closely at your life. If Allah has pulled you away from drama, arguments, and attention, if you feel like you are living in the background while others are loud in the spotlight, understand this truth. Allah often hides His strongest servants while He strengthens them. The seed grows underground before it breaks the surface. No one sees the work happening, but it is happening. Silence is where Allah realigns your intentions. It is where He purifies your motives. It is where He separates what you want from what you need. In noise, you perform. In silence, you transform. Many people chase visibility thinking it brings success. But Allah knows that visibility before readiness destroys people, so He removes you from noise to protect you. This is why your quiet season may feel slow, but it is actually precise. Allah is teaching you to move without validation, to grow without applause, to trust Him without constant reassurance. And when the time comes for you to rise, you will rise with stability, not ego. Because those raised from silence don't need to announce themselves. Their presence speaks. If Allah has made your life quieter lately, don't fight it. Don't force your way back into noise. Let the silence do its work. Because when Allah finishes preparing you, He does not need volume to elevate you. He needs timing. And His timing never misses. 3. The silent are protected from self-destruction. Not every enemy is outside of you. Some of the greatest damage a person ever suffers comes from their own mouth. Allah created words with weight. Once released, they cannot be taken back, and in moments of anger, pain, or humiliation, words often become weapons, not against others, but against ourselves. This is why silence is not just restraint, it is protection. When you are provoked, your nafs wants immediate release. It wants to speak so the pain can escape your chest. But that release is temporary, and the consequences are permanent. One sentence spoken in anger can undo years of patience. One emotional reaction can erase months of progress. One moment of venting can close doors Allah was quietly opening. Allah knows this about the human soul. That is why He places silence between emotion and action. Silence is the pause where wisdom has a chance to enter. Many people think they are losing when they stay quiet. In reality, Allah is saving them from saying something that would damage their dignity, their reputation, or their akara. There are words that feel good to say, but cost too much to speak. Silence guards your honor. Silence protects your character. Silence keeps your heart from hardening. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught that the strong one is not the one who overpowers others, but the one who controls himself when angry. That control often looks like silence. This is why Allah allows people to test you with disrespect, not to humiliate you, but to see whether you will protect yourself through restraint. Silence prevents regret. Silence prevents escalation. Silence prevents you from becoming someone you are not. And here is a truth few people accept. Sometimes Allah is not testing how patient you are with others. He is testing how merciful you are with yourself. Because every time you stay silent instead of reacting, you protect your soul from damage that cannot be seen immediately, but would be felt later. Silence gives emotions time to cool. It gives the heart space to heal. It gives Allah room to intervene. Many people ruin their own victory by reacting too early. The silent person does not rush. They let Allah decide the outcome, and in doing so, they walk away intact, while others destroy themselves trying to be heard. If you are holding your tongue right now, understand this. Allah is not asking you to suffer. He is asking you to stay whole. Because sometimes the greatest win is not saying anything at all. 4. Allah defends the silent in ways words never could. There is a moment in every believer's life when they realize something powerful. No explanation is stronger than Allah's defense. When you speak, you rely on logic. When you argue, you rely on emotion. When you explain, you rely on people's willingness to listen. But when you remain silent, you rely on Allah, and that changes everything. Most people fear silence because it feels like surrender. It feels like losing control of the narrative. It feels like allowing others to shape the story about you. But what they don't yet understand is this: Allah controls the narrative far better than you ever could. When Allah chooses to defend someone, He does not need their words. He moves hearts. He shifts perceptions. He exposes truth without effort. Sometimes He lets falsehood spread, not to harm you, but to reveal who people really are. Because lies collapse under their own weight, while truth stands even when ignored. Silence is dangerous only when Allah is not on your side. But when Allah is with you, silence becomes a shield. Think about how many times you wanted to speak, to correct, to clarify, but something inside you held you back. That hesitation was not weakness. That was divine restraint. Allah often tells His servants, "Be still. I am working." When you stay silent, Allah begins operating in unseen spaces. Conversations happen without you being present. Situations rearrange themselves. People suddenly realize things they once denied. And the most powerful part, you didn't yet have to say a word. Your silence forces Allah's justice to unfold naturally, because when you don't interfere, His plan remains pure. Words can dilute truth. Emotion can distort justice. But silence preserves both. This is why Allah defends the silent differently. He doesn't just prove them right. He elevates them while doing so. Those who rush to defend themselves often look desperate. Those who remain silent look dignified. And dignity attracts divine support. There is also a mercy hidden in this process. Allah knows that if you defended yourself, you might say too much. You might hurt someone. You might damage your own soul. So He removes your tongue from the battlefield and takes over Himself. When Allah defends you, it happens quietly but effectively. The people who doubted you begin to feel uneasy. The people who wronged you begin to feel exposed. The people who mocked you begin to lose confidence. And you remain calm. That calm is not ignorance. It is certainty. Certainty that Allah sees everything. Certainty that truth does not need shouting. Certainty that time works in favor of the patient. Silence allows Allah to show the difference between those who speak truth and those who live it. Eventually, the truth surfaces. Not because you pushed it forward, but because Allah pulled it up. And when it does, it arrives stronger, clearer, and more undeniable than anything you could have said. So if you are silent right now while others speak about you, remember this: Allah did not silence you to shame you. He silenced you to protect you. And when He finishes defending you, you won't need to explain anything, because the outcome will speak for itself. 5. Silence humiliates the arrogant without you lifting a finger. Arrogance survives on reaction. The arrogant speak loudly, not because they are strong, but because they need to feel seen. They provoke, accuse, mock, and exaggerate, all for one reason. They want a response. Your reaction validates them. Your anger feeds them. Your explanation gives them importance. And Allah knows this. That is why silence is one of the most powerful tools Allah gives His servants against arrogance. When you remain silent, you remove the oxygen arrogance needs to survive. The arrogant expect confrontation. They prepare for arguments. They rehearse responses, but silence leaves them with nothing to fight against. except themselves. This is when their true nature begins to surface. They speak more, they over-explain, they contradict themselves. And slowly people start noticing. Silence does not just restrain you, it exposes them. Allah humiliates arrogance not through loud correction, but through calm restraint. Because arrogance collapses when it is not acknowledged. Your silence creates a mirror, and in that mirror the arrogant see themselves. This is why some people become more aggressive when you don't respond. They are not angry at you, they are unsettled by the loss of control. Silence takes away their power. And here is something most people don't realize. Allah dislikes arrogance so much that He often allows arrogant people to defeat themselves publicly without you saying a word. They overstep, they exaggerate, they reveal intentions they were trying to hide. Meanwhile, you remain composed, and that composure speaks louder than any rebuttal ever could. There is also a deeper wisdom here. If you were to confront arrogance directly, you would risk absorbing its traits: pride, anger, impatience. But Allah protects His servants by pulling them out of the battlefield entirely. Silence keeps your heart clean. You don't instead become bitter. You don't become cruel. You don't instead become someone you don't instead recognize. Instead, Allah allows time to do what words cannot. Time reveals who is sincere. Time exposes who is insecure. Time strips arrogance of its mask. And when that happens, the humiliation is complete. Not because you attacked, but because you didn't need to. This is why the Quran repeatedly condemns arrogance and praises humility. Silence is one of humility's strongest forms. It says, "I do not need to prove my worth. I do not need to compete for attention. I trust Allah to put everyone in their place." And Allah does. The arrogant fall not because you pushed them, but because they had nothing solid to stand on. Your silence becomes their downfall, and your dignity remains untouched. If someone is provoking you right now, testing your patience, trying to pull you into noise, understand this: silence is not letting them win. Silence is letting Allah finish them, and He does it with precision. 6. Not every battle deserves your voice. Silence is how Allah teaches discernment. One of the greatest forms of wisdom Allah gives His servants is not knowledge, it is discernment. Knowing when to speak is important, but knowing when not to speak is far more powerful. Not every situation is meant for your voice. Not every accusation deserves your explanation. Not every challenge is your battle. Yet most people exhaust themselves trying to respond to everything. Allah watches this closely, because when you speak unnecessarily, you reveal impatience. When you explain endlessly, you reveal insecurity. When you argue constantly, you reveal attachment to ego. Silence, on the other hand, reveals maturity. Allah teaches discernment by putting His servants in situations where speaking would feel justified, but staying silent would be wiser. This is not easy. It requires you to accept that some people will misunderstand you forever. Some will judge without listening. Some will form opinions without facts. And Allah allows this intentionally. Why? Because clarity is wasted on those who are not seeking truth. Silence is how Allah separates sincere listeners from idle spectators. It filters who deserves access to you. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop begging for understanding. And the moment you stop begging, you regain authority. Many believers lose energy fighting battles Allah never assigned them. They argue with people Allah never sent. They defend themselves in places Allah never called them to stand. Silence pulls you out of these traps. It preserves your spiritual energy for what truly matters: your relationship with Allah, your growth, your purpose. Allah does not want His servants scattered. He wants them focused. That is why silence becomes a form of obedience. You are saying, "Oh Allah, I will not engage unless you ask me to." I will not respond unless it serves my akira. I will not speak unless it brings light. This level of restraint is rare. Most people react impulsively because reaction feels powerful in the moment. But reaction is not strength. Control is. Silence teaches you control over your tongue, your emotions, and your ego. And control is what keeps people elevated. There is also something else Allah protects you from through silence: entanglement. Some arguments are designed to trap you emotionally. Some conversations are designed to drain you spiritually. Some debates are designed to pull you into cycles of anger and resentment. Allah sees these traps before you do. So He blocks your tongue. He makes you feel tired of explaining. He removes your desire to respond. He creates distance. This is divine protection disguised as disengagement. And here is the hard truth: winning every argument can cost you peace. Silence preserves it. Allah does not reward His servants for being right. He rewards them for being restrained. That is why many people are loud and exhausted, while the silent are calm and steady. Silence teaches you that your worth is not proven through debate. Your truth does not need constant validation, and your destiny does not depend on convincing others. It depends on Allah. When you learn to stay silent selectively, you begin to move differently. You stop reacting to provocation. You stop chasing closure. You stop seeking approval. And Allah begins opening doors that arguments never could. Because the servant who knows when to be silent is the servant Allah trusts with responsibility. And Allah does not elevate the reckless. He elevates the composed. If you are quiet right now, not because you are afraid, but because you are tired of meaningless battles, take comfort in this: Allah is refining your discernment. And once discernment is complete, He will place you where your voice truly matters. 7. Victory comes after quiet surrender. When you stop talking, Allah starts moving. There is a stage beyond silence. Not the silence of restraint, not the silence of patience, but the silence of surrender. This is the moment when you no longer feel the urge to explain, when you no longer rehearse arguments in your mind, when you no longer imagine what you would say if you were given the chance. This silence is different. It is calm. It is heavy. It is final. This is when the heart quietly says, "Oh Allah, you know." And that sentence, even when unspoken, carries more power than 1,000 words. Quiet surrender is not giving up. It is letting go of the illusion that you were ever in control. Most people think victory comes from effort, noise, strategy, and pressure. But Allah shows His servants something far deeper. True victory comes when the heart releases control and hands the matter fully to Him. This is why Allah often pushes people to the edge of exhaustion before relief arrives. He waits until the tongue is tired, until the mind stops racing, until the soul finally rests in Him. Not because He enjoys your struggle, but because surrender is the doorway to divine intervention. As long as you are still trying to manage the outcome, Allah lets you. As long as you are still fighting to be understood, Allah waits. But the moment you stop, the moment you fall silent internally, everything shifts. This is where unseen movement begins. Allah starts rearranging things without asking your permission. He softens hearts you could never reach. He removes obstacles you didn't even know existed. He opens doors you were never knocking on. Quiet surrender hands the problem to the one who owns outcomes. And here is the part most people miss. When Allah fights your battles, He doesn't just fix the situation. He elevates you through it. You come out calmer, stronger, wiser, not loud, not bitter, not desperate, changed. This is why the most powerful people are often the quietest after they stiff being tested. They stiff learned something others haven't stiffed. Nothing moves until Allah moves it. Quiet surrender teaches the soul to stop chasing closure, to stop demanding justice on its own timeline, to stop forcing resolution. It teaches the heart to wait, not passively, but faithfully. And Allah rewards this type of waiting differently. He doesn't just give relief, He gives honor. Honor that doesn't need explanation. Honor that doesn't need validation. Honor that speaks without sound. This is why people are often shocked when Allah finally elevates someone who stayed silent for so long. They didn't see the preparation. They didn't see the nights of restraint. They didn't see the battles fought internally. They only see the result. But Allah saw everything, every swallowed word, every restrained reaction, every tear wiped away quietly. And none of it was wasted. Quiet surrender is the final test before breakthrough. It asks one question: do you trust Allah enough to stop interfering? If you do, you will witness something rare. You will watch situations resolve themselves. You will watch truth surface on its own. You will watch doors open without force. And you will realize something that changes you forever. You didn't lose your voice. You outgrew the need to use it. Because when Allah takes over, silence becomes victory. And the one who surrendered quietly rises without making a sound. If you are silent right now, not because you are weak, but because you are tired of fighting battles that drain your soul, then understand this: Allah sees you. He saw every word you held back, every reaction you restrained, every moment you chose dignity over noise, and none of it was wasted. Silence was never your loss. It was your protection. It was your preparation. Allah does not rush victory. He delivers it at the moment it changes you, not just the situation. So if you feel like nothing is happening, if it feels quiet, if it feels slow, that is not delay. That is Allah working in ways you cannot see yet. Stay calm. Stay patient. Stay silent just a little longer. Because when Allah finishes handling it, you won't need to explain anything. The outcome will speak for you. And those who stayed quiet will rise without making a sound.